The Oilers played hard last night against the Minnesota Wild and managed to pull out a win. This is the panel presented by SportCheck. And guys, do you think we could maybe say that they're starting to come out of this tough stretch that they've been in?
Well, I think 3 of the 4 games out of the break were actually fairly well played by the Edmonton Oilers. They didn't get the extra save they needed in the third period of either of the games against Philadelphia or Montreal. And then in Minnesota, I don't think the Oilers gave up much. And in fact, maybe the best chances all night for the Wild were on shots that missed the net. Cam Talbot was rock solid, don't get me wrong, and made a couple of key saves when it got a little hairy in the third period, finishing with 35 for the game. He delivered the kind of performance that Edmonton needed, and the Oilers won the kind of game that Connor McDavid's been talking about, the 2-1, 3-1 type of affairs instead of a 5-4, a 4-3. Those are the games Edmonton feels less confident about. So I think coming out of the break, the Oilers have played some good hockey. They left a couple of points on the table on the road, but overall, over this last stretch of 20-some-odd games, their best hockey has come away from home. They need to figure it out on home ice if they're going to be where they want to be come mid-April.
They need to simplify at home. That's the biggest thing, and they need to commit to checking, and that's not sexy. You know, when you're playing at home, you want to entertain, and you want to play up-tempo. I think given the limitations that they have, they got to deal with what they have up front. Like they've got obviously 3 guys that are, point per game or, considerably better. And then everybody else got to check, right? And then the addition of Oscar Klefbom changes the complexion of the defense. It slots everybody in the right spots. Talbot was solid, but to be frank with you, he'd be the first to say that was not an overly taxing performance for him against Minnesota. But again, the Oilers have got to create some positive energy in their building. I mean, the game against Chicago, the 2-1 score through 2 periods, flattered Edmonton. Edmonton didn't play that well other than getting some looks in the power play. This will be a challenge coming up against San Jose because San Jose is a really good team and they bombed the Oilers the last 2 times they played them, but Edmonton didn't have Klefbom, and he changes the complexion of the makeup of their D.
Yeah, Jack, I want to hear what your thoughts are on getting Oscar Klefbom back. I mean, we got our first win since coming back from the All-Star game, and he happened to be back in the roster.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing that Klefbom does, in addition to the minutes he gives you, and he played about 23, 25 minutes, as Ken Hitchcock predicted he would first couple games out of the gate. But what he also does is allow Darnell Nurse to play 22, 23 minutes instead of 30. And I think, and Chris Russell can play 18 or 19 minutes instead of 26. And Matt Benning can play 15 or 16 minutes instead of 22. And same for Brandon Mann.
Less taxing for everyone.
It's a ripple effect when you got a guy like Klefbom. And Ken Hitchcock believes in him. He believes he can lean on him. And he believes that Klefbom can absorb all those extra minutes and take it on himself and play a consistent 25 to 27 minutes every night. There's not a lot of guys in the National Hockey League that you can count on to do that. I mean, Bob and I talk about it all the time. There's not 31 number 1 D-men in the league. There's about 14. And Klefbom is getting there, but what we have seen from Klefbom, and the reason he's not in that group is he doesn't put up gigantic offensive numbers, but minutes-wise, he's there. Because he can play, he's just as good in minute 27 or 28 as he is in minute 16 or 17. And that's not the case for 75 to 80% of the league's defensemen. So that's why I think his return is so important, because you almost get 2.5 players back in one guy.
Yeah, and for Edmonton, you know what, just given the situation where the race is, I mean, for all the exasperation and frustration with the lack of traction with the hockey club this season, for the players, I mean, they got to look at the positive, and the positive is they're 2 points out of the playoff spot, and they're now relatively as healthy as they've been all season long. Go get it. Go be that team to go claim a spot. So, they got the start against Minnesota, and the end result that they needed against the Wild. They got to build on it carrying forward.
Bob makes an excellent point, Jess. I mean, the wild card 2 team this year isn't going to have 95 or 96 points. It's not that kind of year. You got 28 games left. 16 to 17 wins is manageable. That's not knocking it out of the park. That's really playing 500 hockey and having one stretch where you win 7 of 8. In my opinion, that'll be enough to get Edmonton to the postseason. If they can't do that, they probably don't deserve to be in.
Well, and we all know Oil Country, Oilers fans, very passionate. They're a passionate group. They ride the wave of the Oilers. When the Oilers are up, they're up. When the Oilers are down, they're down, right? So basically what you're saying is there's still hope. We're 2 points out. We got this.
Well, they got. I mean, the room has to be. They've got to be the most positive about the opportunity that's there. I mean, you got to shut the external negativity out of the mix. And the fact is, you can say, well, they haven't had the growth and the maturation with the organization that everybody was hoping for in the last year and a half. But the fact of the matter is, they're in a spot where they can still go get the playoffs. And so you got to, for a player, they got to look at it from a half full perspective and instead of a half empty. I think that a little bit of the recipe for success was illustrated in the victory against Minnesota. They're going to need goaltending. I think they're going to need both goalies, frankly, to give them some solid starts here. It tends to start there. Their power play is clicking pretty good. Obviously, they got to improve on penalty killing. Who's your most important penalty killer?
Goaltender.
Goaltender. Away you go. So go get it, man. It's there for the guys.
And speaking of starts, that's going to be the key. The next couple of home games, you want your fans to be engaged. Give them something positive in the early going. Don't get down early. I think that's going to be one of the most important aspects of Saturday's game. And by the way, Jessica, Bob said it isn't sexy to check. I'll tell you what is sexy. Look at that.
Oh, yeah. Nothing like a low button shirt on minus 30-degree day.
You're a distraction, partner.
Thanks, guys.